With Darksiders 4 recently announced, I wanted to cover a bit more Horseman lore with you all. In today's video, we're covering the rise of the Charred Council, including how they came to power and how they shaped the balance of creation long before the apocalypse. In this two-part video, part 1 will include what we know of their origins and early history all the way up to the creation of the 7 seals at the end of Darksiders Genesis, and even a quick look at their actions in Abomination Vault. Part 2 will be a follow-up, breaking down their actions in Darksiders 1 through 3, and how the power they clung to ultimately corrupted them and diminished their role as keepers of the balance. Let's get things started. The Charred Council are a group of ancient beings who govern the balance of the universe. They appear as a trio of towering skull effigies formed from the infernal black stone of the cavernous dimension they reside in. Their appearance can be described as monstrous, with eyes that glow with intense fire, possibly from the magma that pools below their chamber. The mouths on the statues are cut into various jagged expressions, each fully agape, as if screaming at or set to devour those who come before them. Each member is defined by the emotions they exhibit during deliberation, and by the unique look of their stone monument. Before the Charred Council was formed, the Creator gave birth to the universe and brought forth his 2 eldest races, the Makers followed by the Ravaim. Along with other powerful ancient beings, this group became known as the Old Ones. It is strongly implied that the Charred Council is composed of Old Ones themselves, one such member being the Lord of Hollows. Though many debate and say that the Lord of Hollows is possibly a demon, thanks to the words traitor uttered by Abraxas and Lilith to describe the Lord of Hollows. Sometime later, the Creator will make angels followed by demons, and granted each their own realms of heaven and hell respectively. These 2 realms were known as the First and Second Kingdoms and came to be the most powerful in the entire universe. Inevitably, these 2 kingdoms began a war with one another, which eventually threatened the balance of the universe itself. Left unchecked, this conflict risked the destruction of creation. Something needed to be done. The Charred Council was created to deal with this impending catastrophe. According to the Council itself, they were commissioned by the Creator to uphold and enforce the delicate balance of his universe, ensuring that neither heaven nor hell achieved absolute dominance. Around this time, mysteriously, humanity appeared. It's not yet known where they came from or if they were even made by the Creator. One could assume that they were, yet perhaps they're an artificial creation similar to the Nephilim. Hopefully the answer is provided in Darksiders 4. What we do know is that it's said that they were made from dust. Also around this time, the Creator went silent, perhaps disappearing entirely, leaving the Charred Council as the sole arbiters of balance, with no higher authority to answer to. Over time, the Council recruited powerful agents. One such agent, according to the now deceased cherubim priest Aurelium, was Cerubiel, savior of the cherubim and former chosen of the Council. This is backed up by the surviving cherubim Nehema, who also mentioned Cerubiel was king of the cherubim and guardian of the balance. At some point, Cerubiel is betrayed by the Council and their allies from the White City. He is turned into stone and locked behind a barrier to prevent his resurrection. He is left in this state for eons, leaving a void that will later be filled by the 4 horsemen. The demoness Lilith will seduce a maker named Gul'banin and learn his craft. He taught her how to create life, and Lilith used her new skills to mingle the essence of angel and demon to make a fearsome creature called Absalom. Absalom was the first of many that would be called Nephilim. From him, the rest were made. The Nephilim increased in number and began a rampage across creation, destroying countless worlds and leaving no survivors in their wake. They sought a world to call their own and decided to take Eden for themselves. Eden was a world given to the nascent human race by the Creator, and the marauding Nephilim were set to grind them to dust to attain it. Humans were now included as the prophesied 3rd kingdom in the delicate universal balance. They were far too young and weak, but would eventually complete the foretold balance. To stop the Nephilim's assault, and to prevent such a destructive imbalance of power, the Charred Council allied with Heaven's forces, but it wasn't quite enough to stop the destructive advance of the Nephilim. After witnessing countless atrocities committed by their brethren, 4 of the Nephilim defected and pledged themselves to the Charred Council. It was here that the council saw a great opportunity. These 4 Nephilim would become the instrument of the council's will and will wield such terrifying power that their brutal justice will be absolute, but only under the council's strict orders. To ensure that the horsemen were under their heel and to prevent future Nephilim uprising, the council ordered the 4 to destroy every single Nephilim, to which the 4 complied. They ordered that the souls of the Nephilim be destroyed for good, but death secretly held onto them until the events of Darksiders 2. Following the destruction of the Nephilim, humanity was secretly moved to Earth. Eden was soon sealed away, leaving only the dead from both sides and their blood-soaked weapons. The events of Darksiders Genesis take place long before the other games. After the battle for Eden, the Charred Council discover a conspiracy set in motion by Lucifer and send war and strife to uncover the details and put an end to the plot with extreme prejudice. War and strife eliminate each and every demon involved in the conspiracy, aside from Lucifer himself. Lucifer's plot is seemingly derailed, but in his spite, or perhaps as part of a larger ploy, the Dark Prince uses a soul-absorbing device called the Animus to corrupt humanity, with the darker impulses of the fallen angels and demon lords killed by war and strife. This act forces the proverbial hand of the Charred Council. To protect humanity from further incursion, they obliterate Earth's tree of life, which provided easy access to the planet from other realms. As another protection measure, the Council forges the 7 sacred seals and brokers a pact between heaven and hell, preventing all-out warfare for the time being. Such acts were set to prevent the interfering and destruction of man while they were still developing. Heaven and Hell were each given 3 seals to safeguard, with the final seal being hidden away by the council. The seals were only to be broken once humanity had reached its full potential, and then they would go on to join the other 2 kingdoms for an all-out end war to decide the fate of creation. And for our last stop today, I'm going to provide a condensed version of the events of Darksiders: The Abomination Vault. The events of this novel are still considered canon. Characters, events, and objects from it are referenced in Darksiders 2, 3, and Genesis. Only when an event from the game supersedes the books are the books, specific events in the books, considered non-canon. So let's go ahead with it. During what's referred to as the Nephilim War, or War for Eden, the firstborn Nephilim had used powerful weapons created by Death and his firstborn siblings. These weapons were known as the Grand Abominations for their fearsome power of destruction. For some of them held the power to destroy entire worlds or even inflict incurable curses upon their victims. Some of these weapons were left behind on Eden before it was sealed away, and others were left on other worlds that the Nephilim had set to conquest. Death had made it his mission to seal these deadly artifacts away in a vault that only he knew the location of and had access to, as he was the last of the firstborn Nephilim. Before the start of the novel, the Charred Council had stripped Lilith of her knowledge of creation so that she could not recreate the threat of the Nephilim. Much later, a rogue angel named Hadramon was hell-bent on revenge for the exile of his lover, Raziel, and he sought out the location of these grand abominations. Hadramon wanted to use them to inflict his hatred on heaven as well as the rest of creation, and so he hatched a plot to find and use as many as he could get his hands on, along with his newfound ally, Balasatra. Balasatra was a curious maker who murdered her master Gul'banin and pledged her loyalty to Lilith because she wanted to see what more Lilith could create with Gul'banin's knowledge. For Balasatra, knowledge was above all. With Lilith's memories gone, Balasatra sought to restore her to power, but ultimately abandoned her to work with Hadramon so that she could see the power of the Grand Abominations firsthand. As the events of the story unfold, it's revealed that the Charred Council want the Grand Abominations for themselves, instead of destroyed outright as Death intended. They would have carried this out had it not been for War calling their bluff by threatening to give up his own life should Death be executed. Death's open defiance gave us a glimpse of the biggest crack in the Charred Council's facade so far, and revealed what was either a growing lust for power or a deepening sense of fear and paranoia, or even perhaps a mixture of both. This is quickly backed up by another of their recent actions. It's revealed by the Keeper of Oblivion that the Council created a shadowy creature called Panoptos, and from him made a servant-like race called Watchers, who were bred to be fiercely loyal to only the Council. The Keeper attributes this to the Council's distrusting nature. Panoptos recommends that the council assign watchers to each of the horsemen and be given power to exert control over them. This is likely due to the recent actions of Death, including outright disobedience to the council. Death discovers betrayal from Panoptos, who he learns is a nasty, conniving creature who plotted to advance his own self-interests at the cost of others, possibly reflecting the council itself. Panoptos had seemingly hired demons to find the Abomination Vault, including Hadramon's fallen lover, Raziel. Death concludes that Panoptos planned to acquire the abominations to arm his children and revolt against the Charred Council. Without the evidence to prove his case, Death spares the creature but vows to watch him closely from now on. By this point, the Charred Council had done the unthinkable in the name of balance. They burned the Tree of Life, instituted the eradication of the Nephilim, and bound 4 of the most powerful living weapons to their will, and yet it still wasn't enough, even with their victories over rogue angels, demons, makers, and Nephilim. Join me next time for part 2, The Fall of the Charred Council, where we explore where their corruption and their lust for power ended up taking them by the end of the game so far. If you all like this and you want to see more Darksiders and Legacy of Kain videos, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to see more. I also have a Patreon down below as well. Join there to support more content like this. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.